Tyler with the Stone Blue Airlines Custom Shop, and this video is going to be about the Dramita Voyager. We just recently did a review on this aircraft, and thing flies awesome, and we figured it would be the perfect candidate to do a mini Whoop mod on it. We have our little mini Whoop camera here, and we are going to show you in this video how to properly install it on this specific plane. And this plane, we keep finding little things about it that we absolutely love as we work with it. Because here we're like, okay, instruction manual, okay, there's just some trash. So we figure stuff out on our own. And one thing we just found out, just fooling around before starting to film here, is this will help you out a lot. This wing is held on with a magnet. So if you pull up on the back and then just slide it back, it's got a little slider, little clip in the front that slides into place, and then the magnet in the back. So that's perfect. You take your wing off, you don't even have to worry about damaging it. Set that aside, out of the way. We're not even going to be messing with that part right now. And then from here on out, it's just going to be separating the plane, and we're going to show you how to wire in the camera. Tools you're going to need, little hobby knife, and you want to, if you do not have a fresh blade on it, you want to get fresh blades. We are cutting through some decals and stuff, and you want it to be nice and sharp so that when you put it back together, it looks like you were never even in the plane. A hot glue gun to remount our camera. Any other glue that we have on hand here will dissolve the foam, so hot glue is going to be our best bet, as well as it fills in little cracks too. And then packing tape to tape the plane back together, because you don't want hot glue squeezing out of the seams and making your plane look all tacky and nasty. So yep, that's all the tools we'll need, so we'll go ahead and get started here. So basically what you want to do is, starting off, is you find the seam line where the plane was put together. So you can see up here, it's basically where the black paint meets the gray paint. And there's a seam line that is partially hidden behind the decal, goes all the way up, and then it follows the paint line all the way up and back to the tail. So basically, it should only be held together by the decals. So we should be able to very carefully take our hobby knife and start to slowly work our way back along that seam line. And if you get a little off of the seam line, that's fine. The biggest thing is just try and keep it as close to that seam line as you can get it. And you kind of get a feel for where it's at too. And just take it slow, because the big thing here is just trying not to mar up the plane and trying to keep it in as factory condition as you can keep it. Alright, so we just got into the plane here. A little bit more of a fight than I was expecting. It turns out it looks like they used contact cement around the entire perimeter of the aircraft, as well as they do have alignment tabs that you'll have to either break or cut through. You can see I actually cut through this side because the tabs are actually flush down in there. So yeah, basically just work from one side of the plane, and you want to cut through on the tail. You need to cut all the way through, and then once you get this one side completely released, you can start to gently fold the plane apart, and then you can get your knife in there and you can start kind of cutting away at the contact cement. You want to try and avoid hitting the foam as much as possible. Just try and cut the cement itself. And it's a slow process, it's very tedious, so just be patient with it and take your time as to not mar up the edges as much as you can, and try and keep it nice and straight and clean. Yeah, just take your time on it, very carefully cut up the contact cement until you can pry the plane the rest of the way apart. And you can see we have our receiver already exposed, and again, this is another surprising thing about this aircraft that I love. Really big, beefy brushed motor. You can see in relation to my finger there, that's good size motor. It's about the diameter of the base of your hobby knife, actually even bigger than that. So plenty of power with this one, and the servos too, they're actually legitimate servos. They're not the linear stuff. As well as you also have two more ports down here that if you wanted to later on down the road, even on the wing, you can see it's got markings for flaps and ailerons. You could totally cut out ailerons and install small servos or linear servos on the wing once you get more experience with the plane, or if it's something you decide you want to do, and you have the plugs right there you can plug into. So I just think that's kind of a neat feature. But anyways, continuing the build, we basically want to unplug our motor and just pull that out of the way, and then you're going to actually need a small micro Phillips head screwdriver, and there's 2 screws on either corner of it. There's another thing I love is they actually plan on people coming in here and I guess having to swap a board occasionally, and just be real careful not to lose the screws. I always leave them in the socket and just loosen them, and at this point we should be able to pretty much lift this right out. And no, this one needs another turn. There it is. So this pulls right out of there, just like that. With the exception of the contact cement, this is probably one of the easiest times I've had with an Ultra Micro. This very, very well set up plane, very well thought out. It's almost like they wanted you to do this mod. And so I'm just gonna pull these screws out so I don't lose them. And your little antenna, careful not to flex that too much. These little Ultra Micro antennas, they're just like a solid piece of little, I guess it's copper wire or whatever. They tend to snap pretty easy. Actually, I'll just tip it upside down and push it out. So you want to make sure not to flex this as much. And so I'll just put that back in its place. So now, as far as actually wiring the camera, I'm just going to take these off for ease of getting around here. Just remember which side went to which, because one is going to be slightly longer than the other. So just remember which one was on which side. And for me, what I'm going to do, I'm going to set one on this side of the plane, one on this side of the plane, and I know if the receiver sat in like that, right and left. Simple. So the part we need to get at, should be able to get at it over here, is our positive and negative hookup to power our camera. And you can see the wires actually run back through the circuit board here, and then you can see which side is which up top. So basically, we're going to be soldering on the bottom because we actually have room to work down there, and we're just going to remove the connector on our Swoop cam and solder, obviously, red to red, black to black, and we will have power for our camera and we'll be able to begin reassembly. Alright, so we are about ready to begin soldering our camera in and getting that mounted up to our electronic board. But first we need to figure out where we're going to put it on our wing, and because since our wing's removable, we have to just make sure that our wirings run first, because this is something I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've done this in the past. Get everything wired up, I'm like, yes, time to reassemble, and then I realize I did not run my wires through my wing, nor do I even have a hole there. So then I have to run solder everything, tear everything back down. So make sure you do these steps first, because we've been there, done that. Let us make the mistakes for you. So anyways, we're just going to figure out, we're going to put our camera right about there. This is the leading edge of the wing, this is trailing edge, so we're going right up on the front of the wing. And we're going to take and run our wires down right over here in the corner. So around in this area, and you just want to make a nice small hole. Keep it as small as you possibly can. And again, I'm just using a hobby knife. Normally I would actually just get the, we have a little hot wire cutter, and I just kind of melt a small hole in it. But since most of you viewers probably don't have that, I'm just using a hobby knife because that's a pretty common tool. So just kind of pluck that out and then move around on the bottom, and you can see where I've cut through. Cut that off the knife and just continue your hole. Alright, so as you can see, we already got our hole cut in the wing, already routed our wires through, and we already removed our connector before we put the hole in, just so we could get away with a slightly smaller hole. So at this point, you are ready to go ahead and glue your camera into place. We're just using hot glue. We're using the low temperature setting just so it doesn't melt into the foam as much. And you want to put a pretty generous dab on there because you don't want this going anywhere. And we're going to put it right on the red of our plane, because if you watched our review video, we were mentioning that it was ever so slightly on the tail heavy side. So we might as well compensate for a little bit of that with the camera. So you just want to hold that down until it's good and solid. And there we go. There's your camera, and you can see it's got a good downward angle on it, so we shouldn't have to mess with anything there. And that is all set to be soldered in. Right, so now that we got our camera mounted on our wing, our wire lead stripped and tinned, we are ready to go ahead and power it. And a little reminder, if you're doing this specific plane, antenna side is ground and non-antenna side is the power, or positive. So we're gonna go ahead and get our soldering iron here. I'll have to try and do this in such a way that you can see. Now, I should be able to get this soldered up here for you. Get your lead ready. Hold it on up there. There is the ground. And there is the power. Now, one thing I always like to do is test stuff as you go. At this point, if we test it and this camera does not work, okay, we didn't really lose much time. If we reassemble this and realize something doesn't work, then we gotta go through the whole process again. All right, so we're about ready to test video, and I figured I might as well use our nifty Tactic Pocket Watch FPV camera. This thing's awesome. I think I might have to spend some money and get myself one of these. They're like 50 bucks, so. Yep, Tower Hobbies, or if we start stocking them here, Stone Blue Airlines will get some of my money shortly. All right, so that's powered up. And moment of truth, watch for the magical blue smoke. Good sign, no smoke. And we have power. And we are currently on Fat Shark 1. The blue light up above, in case for those of you that aren't familiar with that, blue light up above indicates your band that you're on, and red light down below indicates the channel that you're on. And I know from experience with these cameras, we are currently on Fat Shark band channel 1. So I'm going to tune into Fat Shark channel 1 on here. There it is. And then we got video. Alright, so we got everything back together. I went ahead and I just put the wing back on. Again, it's held on with a magnet. It just made it easier to screw this into place and get everything else set. Now again, like I was saying before, let us make the mistakes for you. I made the mistake and I did not put the control rods on my servos before I screwed the board down. No biggie, I was able to just unscrew the servo horns, pop them off, put the rods on and pop them back on. But that would have saved you that couple minutes of having to mess with that. So again, we'll make the mistakes, so let us do them for you. And we will plug our motor back in. So that's set. And to reattach this, what we're gonna do is I'm going to use hot glue simply on the tail section, because you can see there's slots cut here for your control rods to go. So I'm basically just gonna be on this back patch with a little bit of hot glue. The rest of it, I'm just gonna come in with a little layer of tape on either side of it. It'll allow it to have a little bit of flex, as well as it'll allow you to actually have access to replace stuff and repair stuff much easier should you have to go back into it in future reference. All right, so one last little thing on your last bits to reassembling the plane and getting ready to fly it. We already hot glued the back section here, so I'm able to actually kind of pry this apart a little bit. Routing the actual power harness for your battery plug-in on the bottom of the plane, that can be a little tricky. What I'm doing is I'm just hot gluing the back first so that everything's already aligned and ready to go together. And I'm just going to take a pair of needle nose pliers and just gently grab that. And you can look down in the plane and kind of see where you got to go with it. And you just kind of, it can be a little tedious, but kind of work its way down. And I see it down there now. And I should be able to reach right through here, grab it, and there it is. So that can be a little tricky pulling that through, but again, just be patient with it, take your time, and slowly work it down there. And we actually did a good enough job on our plane when we cut it apart to begin with that you can notice that's not coming up. I'm tugging on that pretty good. We actually still have a lot of that adhesive still intact, holding the plane together. So we are going to be perfectly fine on this one to just put about a 1/2 inch thick strip of packing tape down just along the seam that we cut to hold the plane together. And once you do that, this is a finished airplane and you are ready to have some indoor FPV fun. All right, so that pretty much wraps up the modification to convert your little micro Dramata Voyager into the mini Swoop. So this is what it is. That's how you do it. You're ready to go out and have a boatload of fun with this little thing, whether you're flying outside on a calm day or in a gymnasium and yeah, just buzzing by people's heads, you know, mini Swoop stuff. Yep, this one's all set, all powered up and everything, and just letting you all know, we do offer the Whoop cams in store, so check out stoneblueairlines.com for the cameras, as well as our own jet fuel packs. They're the 205 milliamp LiPo batteries. These ones work awesome. They're a little bit heavier. Again, I was saying this plane needed a little bit of nose weight. This helps with that, as well as this is probably going to effectively give you about a 30 to 50% flight time increase, because it's just a much better battery than factory. So yep, this thing, I expect to see realistic flight times between our camera and our jet fuel battery, probably between 8 to 10 minutes. So even though it's small, it will give you plenty of fun for a good long flight time each time you go out. So anyways, that's wrapping this one up. This is Tyler from the Stoneblue Airlines Custom Shop. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hope to see you next time.